Teresa Lusk joins us, a life coach with a master's degree in counseling, also a speaker, and has a book, Good Enough to be a Homemaker and CEO, and Girl Preach, and The Kids Aren't All Right, the post-pandemic teen mental health crisis. You know, this is something that's really important, and I wanted to ask you, Teresa, I do hear this a lot from kids. I see it all over the place. It's portrayed in pop culture that after the pandemic, kids have a different take on life, and it's not a good one.
Absolutely. You know, these kids have been through a lot. There was already, a lot of them were already dealing with mental health issues to begin with. Then you add the pandemic and then the trauma from post-pandemic, and it's just really intensified in so many of them. And actually, a lot of them don't even realize that that's where a lot of their anxiety and stress and tension is coming from.
What was it about the pandemic that caused so much stress?
It was the isolation. You know, it was forced isolation. They had to isolate from their social groups. They had to isolate even from close family. I don't know if you remember, but even having to stay away from family members, people that you loved, there was fear of, will we be okay? A lot of the kids saw their own parents express a worry, a concern, a fear, an anxiety that they had never seen before.
Teresa, do you think that social media plays a role in what we're seeing these days, especially with teenagers?
Absolutely. Actually, that has been supported by data, scientific data. And yes, these kids, especially if they use social media for more than 4 hours per day, which I think we could all pretty much say most kids are on social media for more than 4 hours a day. And it affects females a lot more as well, the younger girls.
You know, it's funny, as we grow, as life evolves, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, we have all this new technology at our fingertips, and it's made us more depressed than ever.
Absolutely. I just think that we just haven't learned to use it for the greater good yet. I think you know, some of us try, but you know, time will tell what's going to happen with this. I'm really hoping that there will be a general cultural shift to something much better.
Teresa Lusk is with us, a life coach. I'm curious, see some numbers here. 4 in 10 high schoolers experience persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. A quarter seriously consider attempting suicide. That's disturbing.
It actually really is. You know, it seems maybe you go, well, that's not even half. That's a lot. If you just line up 10 people and you're grabbing 4 out of that crowd and saying, hey, you 4, you'll be depressed. You'll be likely to want to commit suicide. That's a really high number. It's concerning if you imagine that one of those 4 children are your kids. If you see it that way, it's a high number. So it's definitely something to be aware of, something to pay attention to, information to share with other parents. Absolutely.
Teresa Lusk with us, a life coach. We're talking about kids and their mental health.
Teresa, I have 2 girls. The youngest is 19. The oldest is 23. So I've very, very recently gone through a lot of this myself. And as a parent, especially being a parent from the era where you know, basically you break your leg and you rub dirt in it and carry on. We didn't really deal with feelings, I think, like they do. Is it that it's worse today, or is it just that we report it more? What's the deal there?
I just think it's a cultural shift that everything is about feelings today, and it intensifies. So everybody's trying to get their feelings acknowledged. And don't get me wrong, feelings are important, but there does need to be a balance between feelings and reality, and intensified feelings, things that are not real. But I just think that in this younger generation, feelings are very, very important. I've heard a lot of young girls even talk about how they think it's so much better when a man is very emotional. This is an entire young generation. Well, in my generation, the men were expected to be a little more tough and rough, and so they actually don't see that as a plus. And so emotions are a big deal, and it's a whole generational thing. Social media actually plays a huge part on that, and so our kids are being trained to see it that way.
What do you do if you're a parent, if you got a kid, you're concerned about their mental health?
You definitely want to pay attention. You can look for signs. Are they really moody? Are they isolating to another level? I actually suggest that parents really remove the kids' time on the phone, not forever, but reduce it a lot. Connect with your kid. because some of those are the things that will allow you to start rebuilding connection. But don't for a minute think that just because you have a child who's really a good kid, a lot of times we think, well, my child's a really good child, and that would never happen. That's the worst mistake we can make as parents, because good kids still get dragged down with the mess, with emotional things that we might not recognize in our own busy life. So stay connected, be aware of this study of the 4 and 10, and talk to your children. Get them help. If you think something's going on, get them help. But the number one thing is to be aware and rebuild connection with your child. And also, I tell them, don't feel guilty if you feel like you're doing a lot, but something slipped through your hands. Sometimes we take it really hard on ourselves as parents. We do the best that we can, and even then your child can still slip through the cracks with some things, because the world they live in is an intense one.
Well, that's really true. Yeah, most parents will say, not my kid. It's, oh, my kid's fine. My kid's this and that. Every time you read a tragedy in the paper about a kid who took his own life, parents, I had no idea anything was wrong.
Right, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, that sometimes parents can't live with that. They just think, what could I have done? We can do a lot and things still slip. Let me tell you one thing about this generation. A lot of times they are very emotional within their world, but when it comes to the parents, a lot of them have a really hard time being real with you and telling you the truth about what they're going through and what they're feeling. You can miss it. The best parent can miss it. So that's why I say be aware as a parent. Pay attention. Look through their social media. If you keep noticing that something's wrong, but their lips keep moving and saying the opposite, don't let up. Something's not right.
So you're saying I'm not a bad father because I really don't get it.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Good. I'm doing the best I can.
Teresa, do you have a website you want to mention?
Yes, sir. Teresa Lusk Show.
All right. Teresa Lusk, Lusk. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, too.